Howdy, subscribers!
Today we've got a Protea build I've been working on for quite a while now. I've just kind of been lazing around because procrastination is my signature move. And I think I've finally decided, you know what, fine, we'll get to the Protea video. We're like months late at this point, but who cares as long as it arrived at some point, am I right? That's all that matters. So Protea is she's a pretty strong frame, and she's quite a lot of fun. And one of the things that I really don't like with how people play Protea is that they always subsume over her 4. They get rid of her 4th ability, which is a crime because her 4th ability is the coolest and most entertaining ability in the entire game, in my opinion. It is so unique and cool, and I'm sure they put so many hours into the programming to get this thing to work. It's so cool, and it actually has a lot of potential for an ability. It's basically just puts an anchor in time, and then everything you do during the duration, all of the ammo spent, all of the energy spent, all of that is going to be refunded when the ability ends and it sends you back in time. It also stores damage up and does a huge nuke at the end of it, which is very nice. There are 2 augments that are centered around using it to give you a ton of armor strip and have a turret that follows you everywhere you go, a blaze artillery. I keep calling them turrets, sorry about that. It's so good, and her whole build works really well around it too. I just really love the ability. And not everyone knows this, but you don't have to let it teleport you back in time because it can be a lengthy animation. Sometimes you're like trying to run across the map, you don't want to be sent back. If you tap the ability again, it instantly ends it, causes the nuke, and sends you back. Or if you hold cast it, it will actually deactivate it. And then it just won't send you back. It won't do the nuke effect, and it won't refund your energy and ammo that was spent during the duration of the ability. But it is still, you know, a thing you can do, because you do have to have the ability active to be able to have like the armor strip and stuff. So you can do that and then hold cast it to not have to go back in time and still get the benefits of having the armor strip and stuff while it's up. A lot of her kit centers around her too as well. That's like really her bread and butter is going to be killing stuff with her blaze artillery. It does a lot of damage. It has an angle in front of you. It can't always shoot everywhere in front of you. It has like a 130-degree angle out in front of you, and it's got some really considerable damage, very nice damage, and not just from the upfront damage, but the DOT that it applies can be pretty damn strong too, because it has forced heat procs, which is absolutely massive. It also has infinite punch through, so it can go through, or well, infinite body punch through. It can go through an infinite number of enemies, which is really nice. Her first ability is okay. It's not always necessary. You got the slash grenade things, the grenade fan. It's pretty nice, I guess. It does stagger enemies. It can do some damage, but it's not really what we're building around. What's better is the whole cast version, which is going to be the shield grenades. This for yourself and teammates is very nice. It's going to refund a large amount of shields when you pick it up. While it's active, it constantly regenerates shields, and then if your shields break, it will destroy the drone if it has any remaining duration on you, but double the shield gate you have. So if you have a 2.5 second shield gate, which is normally capped, that's going to go to 5-second shield gate, which is pretty nice. And you spawn 4 of these every time you throw them, so it can be a lot of survivability both for yourself and your teammates. Her third ability just spawns ammo and health orbs and energy orbs. It's really nice as just yourself and for teammates. Again, a lot of her stuff helps herself and her teammates. So she's not just great as a frame for solo play and killing stuff, but she's really great as a support frame as well because of all of the energy and ammo she gives to teammates. The shield she can refund to teammates, and bigger shield gates if they pick up the orbs. Also, the armor strip everywhere when you have her armor strip augment on and you spam like the turrets and the slash grenades. It's just going to really help your teammates on top of yourself. She's a very strong Warframe, and I very much enjoy her playstyle. On top of that, I mean, she's hot, so who wouldn't like that? I think that should be a general good coverage of what she does. So we're going to go into
for the mods. We have growing
now.
Power in the ore slot. This is just for extra ability strength. It's not needed. If you want to run something else, you can, but it does help add to our abilities to make them a little bit more potent. In the Nautilus, we have the Repair Dispensary augment. This allows the dispensary ability to create pickups that can both heal your companion as well as reduce their timer for them respawning, assuming they get downed. This will just give us more uptime on our companion to make sure they are getting the maximum amount of effect in whatever it is they do, depending on what you decide to run. In this case, you'll see we will have the Nautilus. We have Blind Rage for extra ability strength, and it nukes our efficiency, though we don't have to worry too much about that. Prime Continuity for extra duration, Prime Flow for energy max, Equilibrium, which will be giving us a ton of energy. Burial's Hatred for extra ability efficiency, which is nice if you start spamming abilities really fast, but more importantly, it also gives shield capacity. This puts us at 1141 when taking into account the blue Tau-Forged Archon Shard for shield cap, which is just under what's needed for the maximum 2.5 second shield gate, which is 1150. So we're going to be at like a 2.495 shield gate or something like that, which is very good for survivability. Archon Vitality for extra health, though that isn't really the main reason. We mostly want this for the extra heat application on our abilities. It does say it doubles the amount of heat procs. They are applied twice. This is not entirely true. It actually just adds one heat proc. In Protea's case, it doesn't matter how it affects it, but that is something worth noting. We also have Temporal Erosion. This makes it so while her fourth ability is active, her grenade fans or her artillery can armor strip the enemy with every single hit. It is 10% armor strip per hit at base and scales with strength. The other augment is also on, which makes it so while Temporal Anchor is active, you can pick up one of your turrets and have it follow you around. The timer will be paused, though its max combo count is capped out at 20 times. Some things worth noting about this is if you have no turret near you when you cast your 4, then when you cast your turret, it will put that one that you just cast on yourself. Or if you have one directly next to you when casting your 4, it will just pick that one up and pause its timer. Also, normally your turrets can only shoot in a general radius in front of them, like 180 degrees or so, I think it is. It is actually 130 degrees, though when you pick up your artillery, it can shoot in all directions, which is very, very nice. It gives a lot of more AoE, I guess you could say, than what you normally get. It is something that you can definitely feel, or at least I can feel it. For the arcanes, we have Arcane Energize and Arcane Steadfast. And you might be thinking, isn't that massive overkill on energy? Because we do have our fourth ability, which is going to be making it so we get energy refunded. We have our third ability for energy orbs and health orbs, which are converted to energy with equilibrium, on top of energy orbs and health orbs being converted that drop from enemies naturally. We have a lot of energy as is, so you would think going Energize and Steadfast is massive overkill, but there is a reason to this. Firstly, I don't feel like we particularly need another arcane here. It's kind of just whatever you want. And also, this helps us spam stuff more, because even though we have a lot of energy restoration in this build, it is really high energy cost per ability cast. Our dispensary is 105, Temporal Anchor is 140, every single turret is 70, and we are going to be spamming the crap out of our Blaze Artillery. So if you don't have a ton of energy immediately to pick up everywhere you go, you can occasionally run out, which is where Steadfast and Energize come in. Energize makes it so not only do we get a huge amount of energy from picking up the health orbs from dispensary, but we also get a massive chunk of energy back from picking up the energy orb when it procs Energize. Steadfast makes it so that when we start spamming the crap out of our Blaze Artillery, it is constantly refunded back to us, and that is just very, very nice. If you want to run different arcanes, you can, but I find these two just add so much comfort. I never ever have to worry about running out of energy, and I love that. There's also the other benefit to Arcane Energize, which is when it procs, it also gives it to teammates around you. The 150 energy it gives, any allies within 15 meters also receive that energy, so it's a bit of support as well. Not that it's necessary, but it can be sort of nice for your teammates. For our primary weapon, the main goal of having this primary here is to be able to kill acolytes, because that is one thing that Protea can struggle with at times, and so the whole purpose of our primary is solely for killing acolytes and pretty much nothing else. It is the Strun Incarnon, which is a very, very strong weapon, and the build we have is centered around not having to get kills to build it up, because that can be a bit of a pain, especially if you don't have any sort of base damage out the get-go. This isn't the most optimal build ever, but it is what I find to be the most consistent and easiest to use. It is a projectile explosive based weapon in the Incarnon mode, which means it does bypass acolyte damage attenuation. We also have it built for gas, and gas damage can also bypass acolyte damage attenuation, letting this eviscerate acolytes like they're nothing. We have a pretty standard gas build, I'd say. Prime Point Blank, Prime Ravage, Blaze, Toxic Barrage, Galvanized Hell, Shotgun Barrage, Crickled Deceleration, and Shotgun Elementalist. The Exilus is not necessary, we have Galvanized Acceleration here, and then the Arcane is Shotgun Vendetta because the multi-shot is pretty huge. Outside of getting a single kill for Shotgun Vendetta, the only other thing you need to get kills to build up is Galvanized Hell, which is not required, meaning to get nearly the full benefit of this weapon, we only need to kill one enemy, and then we will have almost all of our damage immediately ready to kill the Acolyte, because we aren't normally going to be sitting on this weapon killing stuff with it, so it's important to not have to get like 5 or 10 kills to build up all of our stacks. As far as the evolutions go, the Evolution 2 we went for the one that gives multi-shot, Evolution 3 we went for reload speed, and Evolution 4 we went for massive amounts of status chance. The secondary weapon is going to be the shining star of this build, and that is because of the existing thing called Heat Inherit. If you don't know what Heat Inherit is, I strongly suggest watching a video about it, because I'm not going to go in-depth detail here how it works. So we will assume you have a general idea of what Heat Inherit is. We just have a very standard viral Heat Inherit setup on our Epitaph. We want maximum explosion range because of primed fulmination. Make sure you have the Epitaph prime to get the biggest explosion possible. Perpetual Agony is nice for the status duration. Pistol Pestilence and Frostbite to give us viral while also giving status chance. Primed Heated Charge and Scorch for status chance and massive amounts of heat for the Heat Inherit value. Lethal Torrent for multi-shot and fire rate, and Amalgam Barrel Diffusion for multi-shot and dodge speed. You can actually replace this with Galvanized Diffusion if you don't have Amalgam Barrel Diffusion. We aren't really needing damage, so more multi-shot isn't needed there, and I do enjoy having the dodge speed. The Exilus is Primed Pistol Ammo Mutation. You can run the normal variant. I have never run out of ammo while using normal pistol ammo mutation. I just have the primed version here because it looks fancier. And then the very, very important arcane is Secondary Fortifier. Secondary Fortifier, if you do not know, can work with Heat Inherits. It will give us massive amounts of overguard while also letting us absolutely shred enemy overguard with our cannons, our turrets or whatever, blazing artillery. The huge 8x multiplier to overguard is quite nice, and we're pretty much invincible by having this, assuming that there is Eximus units spawning somewhat regularly. For melee, we have a Zorus setup, which is purely made for spreading magnetic. This is if you need even more damage against overguard, or you accidentally mess up and something is hit with heat from your abilities before your epitaph, meaning you cannot benefit from the arcane secondary fortifier, and then you don't have nearly as much damage against said overguard. That's why we have this here, just for a little bit of comfort. Otherwise, you can run any melee you want. It's not really necessary to run this. It's a very standard, like straightforward setup for magnetic. You just want status duration, lots of heavy attack wind-up speed so you can throw the weapon fast, and magnetic, and then as much status chance as you can get. Dispatch Overdrive is here just for extra movement speed as well, and melee influence, of course, because we have forced electric procs on the heavy attack from Zorus. For a focus school, we have Madarai, and I'm sure you can guess why we have Madarai. It's just really, really strong, and we aren't really in need of anything else like Vazir and Uneru, all those stuff. None of those really give anything to the build that we need, so we might as well go Madarai. Power Transfer is nice for the extra casting speed on our Warframe, and Sling Strength is extra ability strength if you feel like casting it to keep it up, which is just comfortable. And because of the insane damage you do on Madarai, it makes it so if you have Last Gasp, if you get down, killing something to revive yourself is very, very easy. Our companion here is the Nautilus Prime. It gives us grouping, which is always very strong in a game that is filled with large hordes of enemies. It has duplex bond so that we can spread lots of effects everywhere by duplicating our little sentinel, and if you have a good primer weapon on them, which we do, and we'll go over that in a second, it means they can spread statuses galore. Very, very strong. Cordon, of course, so can suck stuff in. Guardian for more survivability. Manifold bond to keep everything going. Synth deconstruct just for more orbs, because why not? And everything else is pretty much up to you. The companion's weapon is going to be the Hellstrom, a very straightforward viral radiation build. Radiation just helps give us a little more crowd control, and viral is here because we want to have massive amounts of damage. And because we have duplex bond on our sentinel, we are going to be able to have lots of viral procs on basically everything at all times. We are of course shooting stuff with our epitaph for viral, so you might think it's overkill, though epitaph cannot quickly max out viral procs very easily, so this just makes it more consistent for the enemy to be at max viral procs. Lastly, on our operator, you can run basically anything you want, though if you want to maximize the amount of damage you can do, I would suggest putting Magus Accelerant, preferably at max rank, on your operator. On Void Sling, it will reduce enemy resistance to heat by 65%. This is a permanent debuff to the enemy. It has no cap, so it can stack as many times as you like, and it applies to both heat damage as well as the heat DOT. So if there's an enemy that is really, really chonky, you just void dash on the floor next to them a million times with this, and they will take ungodly amounts of damage from any sort of heat source, which of course with our Protea and her blazing artillery, we are already doing a large amount of heat damage, and it just gets kind of insane with this. With all of that out of the way for all the build stuff, I'm just gonna let the gameplay roll for a little bit. It's been going on in the background, and now it should be running over some Void Cascade stuff solo, so you can see that, I guess, and see how fairly decent this build is.
that's gonna do it for the Protea video, I guess. If you liked the video, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Check the description for the Discord link if you'd like to join that as well. If you have any ideas of just random stuff, I guess, you know, let me know. Hopefully this different kind of video format is fine. I just thought I'd spice things up, try something a little bit different, so that's what we ended up doing today. If you didn't like it, then make sure to tell me. If you do like it, tell me. If there's any ideas as to something I could change, tell me. That's gonna do it though, I guess. So yeah, adios.